Hello, beautiful people. Carl here from Games, Brains and Headbanging Live, gbhblofficial for short. Happy Halloween, and we're talking nostalgia. Nostalgia sure makes the world go round. We are living in nostalgic times in all areas of, well, GBHBL. The games, the brains and the head banging it often feels like we're looking backwards rather than looking forwards, from video games being remade, remastered and re-released to horror movies being remade, re-released and legacy sequels and all that nonsense, to headbanging where old bands are, ones that have been dead and buried are back and thriving, and we're getting a lot of like, hey, remember when you were young live shows, and all of that nostalgia lives in everyone's heart, I think. If you know me, you'll know I've been critical over nostalgia as far as media goes. I get worried that, man, all we do is say, oh, wasn't it so much better back then, without really recognizing what's good now. And there often is some really great stuff, particularly in the world of horror and games and stuff like that. There's great stuff going on. I don't like that people just kind of get stuck in where things were better back in my day. It comes from a youth mentality when things were simpler, I think. When you were a kid, you've got memories of things when they were just simpler, so naturally you just think of how great they were, and that's fine if that generally is how you think. I'm not here to tell anyone they're right or wrong about living in the world of nostalgia. I'm just here to offer you my opinion on it. I don't celebrate it, particularly in the horror movie side of things. It's probably where I'm most critical, because to me it shows a complete lack of inspiration, a complete lack of ideas, and it harms, it damages, independence, it damages filmmaking. I don't want to see another fucking legacy sequel of a franchise that really should have been put to bed a long time ago. I want to see fresh ideas. I want to see independent cinema. I want to see young up-and-coming filmmakers being given the opportunity to show what they can do in the horror sphere. I do not want to see another Halloween film, basically. That's why I'm quite critical of that. But I am guilty of getting caught up in nostalgia too. I'd probably say the area I'm most guilty and really kind of enjoying it is in gaming. I do kind of get a kick out of remakes, re-releases and stuff like that. So, I'm not infallible when it comes to things like that. It affects us all differently. Some people get nostalgic over TV. Some people get nostalgic over songs, films, games, everything. Sweets can do it for people, How often do people in this country, UK, get nostalgic over the price of a goddamn Freddo? If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look into that. It is pricey these days. I do get that. The time of this video, I'm 41 years old. So, I am at the age where I can look back and go, things were better when, to a certain degree. There are certain eras that I do kind of have that mindset, particularly in the world of horror. I think I've said before, and I guess I'll repeat it here, I think the 80s, the 1980s, so basically probably about, well, to narrow it down, I'd say from about maybe 82 to about 89 or maybe 88, it was golden. It was absolute golden time for horror, in that it felt like anything could have been made. Any idea, anything was willing to be given a go. Like, what idea have you got? Let's make this film. We can make it on a low budget. The effects are practical, and the imagination was off the charts. So I get very nostalgic when it comes to horror for that particular period in time. And that's kind of what this video is about. Basically, I decided, and I've been thinking about this, was like, I've been such a critic over nostalgia in horror that I should shut up and basically give you 10 examples of where I do get really nostalgic about horror. 10 films that when I see the name, I hear it mentioned, I automatically do that thing where you just go, I love that film. That's brilliant. Even though it's far from brilliant. Like, that thing where it's like, it's a classic movie, and it's like, no, it's not. It's a terrible film, or it's a badly made film, or no one knows about it because it sunk without a trace. But I just happen to love, and I just get that little warm glow in my heart, Doesn't make me want to sit down and watch it necessarily, because I recognise and back in my mind that, hey, it's not a great film, but I just can't quite get over the hump. And then I'll be with my wife and be like, hey, we should watch this movie because, I've got such nostalgic memories of it. And then we watch it, and she'll be like, that was crap. And I'll be like, yeah, but I really like the growing, that thing. That's the nostalgic issue. And because I've been so critical of nostalgia and horror generally. That's, like I said, I wanted to then kind of step back and say, no, I'm also able to get caught up in it. So I am going to give you 10 films. I'm hoping, I've chosen 10 that are basically less, because I can, I could easily use things like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. These are all the classics that I grew up, The Exorcist, Candyman, all the stuff I kind of grew up on a diet of, that are, well, they are literally the classics. That is no hyperbole meant there at all. But I don't really want to do those. Didn't want to mention those films because you know them, right? You know them. I can't tell you, say, Halloween's a good fucking film. You know Halloween's a good film. I know Halloween's a good film. So what are we even doing? So I've gone for 10 lesser known. You might know them. You might think, well, why is he saying that's an unknown film? I'm not saying that. I'm saying maybe in a wider general audience view, these films aren't as well known, but they're the ones that I just, when I see the title, when they come up my way, I'm just like, I love that film, even though I recognise it's not a good film. And I'm always going to be honest with you. After going through my lists, I went to the website and I went to the specific era that I wanted to look at, the 80s, and I went through all that was reviewed, and I was like, looking at whatever title, as soon as I saw it, my mind went, I love that film. That's what I basically did. I did that, and that's where I've come up with 10. And they are all basically based between like 1983 to like 1989. It really was my favourite. It really is my favourite era of horror. And it's not like I was like old enough to be watching horror then. I didn't really get into watching horror until the 90s, when I was actually kind of like of an age where I could appreciate things. But over the years, I've gone back and discovered more and more films from that era that I've forgotten, like buried, seen all the majors, I just find it to be the most enjoyable. So I'm going to give you 10 films, going to give you a brief kind of overview and just kind of maybe explain to you why I get a little bit nostalgic about it. I'm not going to go too much in depth into the film overall. Sometimes because, truth be told, some of these I haven't seen in a very long time, so memory is a bit fuzzy, which is the nostalgic point, right? Nostalgia, your memory goes fuzzy and all you ever remember is the good stuff. That is nostalgia through and through. So that's why something's worth a rewatch. I don't have time to watch all 10 of these, but I've chosen 10 that I think I remember well enough. I'm going to start off with a 1983 film called The Deadly Spawn, which to me, whenever I think about it, I remember as just being an insanely entertaining monster alien movie. One that had like bad acting, but fabulous practical effects. And I always remember the sort of final scene of this film with the big one. It's been a while since I've seen it, so it probably is overdue a rewatch, but that's basically what always comes to mind. Aliens end up like crashing on Earth, living in some family's basement, get bigger and bigger and munch their way through people. It's violent, it's gory. I can picture, whenever I think of The Deadly Spawn, I just picture the big mouth with the teeth, and I just get so nostalgic over it. Okay, next one I want to mention is 1985's Life Force. Now, I didn't see this till only maybe about, 7 or 8 years ago, but already it is like that. When I think of Life Force, I just think, oh my God, this is such an insane movie and how ahead of its time it was in the sense of what it tried to do. It is an end-of-the-world movie, aliens. I don't even know, what would you even describe this as? It is, it's based off a book called The Space Vampires, but it's got like the likes of Patrick Stewart in it, Mathilda May walking around butt naked throughout it, Peter Firth. It's a story that literally just basically starts in space, ends up on Earth as everyone gets infected and shit goes crazy. It is bafflingly unique. It's extremely ambitious. And whenever I picture, whenever I think about, I picture the scene with Patrick Stewart on the helicopter. I obviously picture, it's hard not to picture Mathilda May, naked. The chaos in the streets where basically zombies or space vampire, whatever you want to call them, kind of like it's all going wild. It's amazingly unique film. If you've never seen Life Force, a 1985 one, really do check it out. It is one that I'm actually planning to rewatch soon. I've got a couple of things I've got to watch first, but I'm going to give this a rewatch, get the wife to watch it and see what she thinks as well. Because I think most people, they're like always like, oh my God, that was crazy. Okay, let's jump to 1986. Now, this one is a bit of a cult hit, so it might not be, it might be more familiar to you. It's House, the 1986 horror comedy from Sean S. Cunningham. This was such a big part of my youth. And it's crazy because it's generally got some scary stuff that occurs at the beginning of the film before it becomes more of a comedy horror. When I watch it now, I just adore the performances, adore the effects, adore the soundtrack, adore how edited it is. Oh man, I'm smiling now because immediately I'm just thinking of like, the body disposable, the monster that he cuts up with the axe. Roger cuts up with the axe and the music that plays. This is dedicated to the one I love. That entire. How good is that shit? All right, the last. Nostalgia blinds me because I now immediately go, oh yeah, but I don't really love the final sort of third when Ben's involved and we do the Vietnam stuff. Actually, I don't like a lot of the Vietnam stuff. And there are times where it's a little slow, but god damn it, is it stylish. It is up there as one of my most immediately heartwarming, nostalgic memories when I think of horror from the 80s that I just love. I automatically as well, although I haven't included it here, I'm going to add it now. I always lump in House 2, the second story as well. Both films very different. Were a major part of them. I didn't see any other House growing up. I saw House 1 and House 2. I would end up seeing House 3 and 4 way later down the road, but yeah, specifically House 1 and 2, they're my babies. But man, oh man, if you've never seen House 2, check it out. You will be really entertained. 1987's The Gate. This is another childhood one for me. Nostalgia, I actually rewatched this quite recently, and I remember being like, oh man, The Gate was amazing. Oh, so cool to kind of go there and watch, what's his name? Oh, what have I forgotten the actor's name? Stephen Dorff as a kid, and sort of see him in this role. Consider mostly remembering now for his adult work and things like, like in Blade. We had to go back watching him as a kid, and nostalgia was always making me, it was a fun monster movie with some great effects and some really horrible stuff. I always remembered the parents, "You've been bad" scene more than anything else. I watched it recently and it is not holding up. There are some very cool stuff, there's some great music, some great use of synth and colour, and some cheesy fun moments. But man, oh man, it almost wants to be like a kind of like a more not family friendly, but a younger audience horror movie, but it doesn't quite get the tone right. And it gets really slow at certain points. Plus the stop motion effects, oh my god, a lot of that stuff has not held up well at all. This is one where I can tell you, nostalgia blinds me heavily. I think of The Gate and I think, that's an amazing film. And then when I rewatched it, I was like, is it though? Is it? Right, okay. Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 from 1987. This might be up there out of the non-classic stuff. So the ones that I'm known for loving, Demons, Return of the Living Dead. This is one of the ones that sort of sits on a slightly lower level than them, but I absolutely adore this film. A sequel to Prom Night, sort of. The classic 80s slasher movie that starred Jamie Lee Curtis. Prom Night 2, Hello Mary Lou, is not. Well, the reason why Prom Night 2 is the second part of the title. It is not a. It's not. It shares name only. It's not a sequel in anything but a name. Even its story is insanely different, based in the supernatural, about possession, and utilizing putting a sort of powerful female figure who uses her sexualness to kind of commit some pretty shocking stuff. There's a lot of nudity, there's a lot of sex, there's a lot of violence. It's a very, very cool film that has slasher elements as well. Really great effects, good acting. I enjoy the shit out of this movie every time I watch it. I still think it holds up as well. I think it's one of those really, really fun films. It's fun 80 horror movies that perhaps if it didn't have such a dumb name, might have kind of got the attention of a wider audience. Okay, 1987 as well, The Video Dead. Now, this is interesting, because as I mentioned this has kind of popped up on Prime and Amazon Prime, so I think there's a chance more people might watch it, and they're probably going to come away being like, the hell was that? This is not a film that's holding up at all, but whenever I think of it, right, all I think of is the VHS cover, which was it had it was the TV lying on its back with lightning crackling out of it and this great artwork zombie reaching its hand out with this big garish title, The Video Dead. It was so damn cool. The film is not cool. It's weirdly a kind of comedy as well, and god damn is it bad. But there's so many cool moments in it, and weirdly I think elements of it would be used, elements of work really well, inspired things not necessarily inspired, but, similar to things like what happened in Ringo, The Ring, and things like that. I just, the whole TV aspect and things coming through it and being summoned. I really think there were some cool ideas there. It's just a shame. The problem with this film is it just really loses its way as it goes on. But it makes me smile. Creepazoids. Sticking with 1987. What a year 1987 was. Creepazoids. God damn. Every time I watch this movie, I go in going, oh, mate, Creepazoids is brilliant. Linnea Quigley, can't wait to see her again. Great cast. Underground bunker. Post-apocalyptic world. Monsters. Nastiness. It's great. And then giant rats, don't forget that as well. And then you watch it and you're like, God damn, this is boring. God damn, this cast is terrible. God damn, these effects aren't holding up. Oh, God damn, this ending's really sick. It is simply that. Creepazoids is one of those where, and I just can never shake it off. I watch it again and I'm like, oh man, this is not as good as I remember. But then I'll be like, I'll literally forget it. And 6 months later, I'm like, yeah, Creepazoids is great. Fucking nostalgia, mate. It blinds us all. Okay, what else have I got for you? Rabid Grannies from 1988. This is one of those that I think holds up because it is so absurd, so much fun, so over the top that you would have to be a miserable so-and-so to not get a kick out of it. It is 80s through and through. Bloody, gory, insane. Putting like the idea of a cute, lovable granny in his horror role. Really pushing the envelope. And there's a scene involving a priest and suicide and encouragement to kill himself so he'd go to hell that I think is crazy for being in this mad film. And that's about it though. That's like, these are the moments I remember about it. The transformation scene at the table, the grannies being evil demonic creatures, and that's about it. And it's brilliant. It's the subject matter, the effects, the silliness, the high levels of gore. It is just one of those 80s movies, late 80s movies that I just go, oh mate, everybody should see Rabid Grannies. That is a film I get nostalgic over, and I think it's deserved. Pumpkinhead from 1988 as well. This could be the series as a whole, but it really is the first one, I think, more than anything else, mainly because it stars Lance Henriksen. I also think it was when it was at its most clever and most intriguing. The monster of Pumpkinhead is really cool, and they were very proud of the visuals as well, because you really see this creature in all its practical gore, practical effects glory. I like the idea about witchcraft and summoning, and kind of how revenge can get out of control. Pumpkinhead is a deeper movie than you expect, but it's also thoroughly 80s monster movie mayhem. Pumpkinhead, man, great film. Iffy series, so I'm not necessarily going to add in a whole franchise, but definitely when I think of Pumpkinhead, I ended up spending a ton of money recently on this guy as well. That's how much I really find I enjoy the original film. Okay, I've got one more for you, and it is 1989's Warlock. Actually, we watched this very recently with my wife. She'd never seen it, and I was like, look, this is a good film. It's got some fun characters, actors. It's got the likes of Julian Sands, Richard E. Grant. These are good actors doing good stuff. It's quite imaginative, set across space and time. It's horror, but in an intriguingly different way, with elements of fantasy, witchcraft, some really cool stuff. It's even got some comedy elements, and goddamn, it still holds up. And you know the best thing about when you're kind of getting nostalgic and you show someone something and you're like, oh, you should check this out. You want them to come away going, oh yeah, that was cool. That was the case with this film. She was like, that was really a lot of fun. She really enjoyed it. I haven't subjected her to the second one yet, because that's the other one I get nostalgic over, those first two. And I'm not too sure she'll enjoy that one, because I don't really remember that as fondly. But man, do I think of Warlock in a fond way. I always end up thinking, well, certain scenes from the horror aspect, particularly the medium scene when she's possessed by the devil, her face, the effects that are quite terrifying. I often remember the jokes. When he takes the steeple, the what are they called? The pointy thing that sits on the top of her barn. He carries it on a plate, which shows its age, of course. And she's like, hey, can I take that for you? And he's stewardess. And he's just like, over my rotten corpse. So much fun. So silly. Warlock, yeah, it is up there as one of my most nostalgic memories. Things I think back of and go, yeah, that's a great film. Except I think it still is. I do think it still is. Yeah, there's 10. I could probably do a lot more, but there's 10 that I spotted that, like I said, jumped out at me and said, hey, what do you think? This is what you think of when you think of great nostalgic horror. As I said, all between the sort of 80s, well, it was between 83 and 89, specifically those set of films. And the point of this was just me to show you that I am also susceptible to nostalgia in horror. As much as I can criticise it and will continue to criticise it, particularly what modern filmmakers are doing with it, I also get caught up in it. I'm not denying that. And like I said, I'm not telling you not to get caught up in it, but just don't ignore what great work modern filmmakers are doing in favour of nostalgia. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now. It was supposed to be a quick wrap-up, a quick video. There's the 10 that I get nostalgic over. What do you think, though? Do you kind of share my nostalgic feelings for any of these films? Do you have one that's particularly special to you? Love to chat to you in the comments. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.